February 14th, 2025. Sonar operator
There. A faint signature, low frequency, barely above the ambient noise of the sea.
It's not a whale. It's not a merchant ship. It's a submarine. And it's close. Within minutes, the frigate's captain orders battle stations. To the crew, this looks like their moment. A chance to show that Caracas can still defend its maritime borders.
But what they don't realize yet is that they're not the hunters in this scenario. They're the students. And the lesson has already begun. 400 feet below the surface, USS Helena, a Los Angeles-class fast-attack submarine, has been watched.
The detection wasn't an accident. It was an invitation. Helena's commander wanted to be found, not because he had to.
This is the story of a 12-hour chess match beneath the Caribbean Sea, where one side thought they were projecting power.
Let's rewind to understand how we got here. Just 72 hours earlier, a U.S. Coast Guard helicopter had released.
The boat was reportedly carrying 2 tons of cocaine and was linked to the Cartel del Golfo operating out of Maracaibo.
Different perspectives emerged about the incident. Officials emphasized dialogue. Regional leaders called for peaceful diplomatic resolution.
Within 48 hours, Venezuelan military forces went on heightened alert. Coastal radars were switched to continuous scan mode.
And that's when USS Helena, already conducting routine intelligence gathering in the region, decided to test just how serious Venezuela's response really was.
The Los Angeles-class submarine is a Cold War design that refuses to retire. Commissioned in 1987.
Her AN/BQQ5 sonar suite can hear a wrench dropped on a ship's deck from 20 miles away.
But her real weapon isn't firepower, it's stealth. When running on electric drive, Helena is quiet.
She can sit motionless at depth, listening, recording, mapping every acoustic signature within a 100-mile radius.
4-3, please. 3 of them 8.
But passive collection only tells you so much. To truly understand an adversary's anti-submarine warfare capabilities, you have to make them react.
So at 0600 local time on February 14th, Helena's commander made a calculated decision. He ordered a shout.
Not close enough to violate territorial waters, but close enough that their sonar would pick up the signature.
Aboard the Almirante Brion, the detection sent shockwaves through the crew. This wasn't a drill. This was real. A foreign...
The frigate is Venezuela's most capable surface combatant. Built in Italy in the 1980s, she carries...
In 2019, Russia provided electronics upgrades, including newer sonar processing software.
But there's a difference between having the equipment and knowing how to use it under pressure against a peer adversary. That difference was about to be exposed.
The frigate's captain elite active sonar. The decision made sense. Passive listening what? The problem? Active sonar is like turning on a searchlight in a dark room. Yes, you can see your target. Down in Helena's sonar room, the crew smiled as the Venezuelan pings washed over them.
Every intelligence officers aboard took notes. This was textbook data collection, the kind you can't get from satellites or intercepted communications. Meanwhile, 2 Venezuelan Aviocar C-212 maritime patrol aircraft were scrambled from Maiquetía Air Base. But they're effective for coastal patrol work. Each carries sonobuoys, magnetic anomaly detectors, and infrared sensors designed to...
But here's the twist. Helena wasn't trying to evade detection. She was studying their search pattern, how quickly they respond. From Helena's perspective, this wasn't a threat. It was a masterclass in opponent exteriorly.
Then things got more complicated. Just 40 miles to the west, a U.S. Coast Guard cutter, USCGC Stone.
The timing was coincidental, but to Caracas, it looked coordinated. a submarine probing their defenses while Coast Guard operates freely nearby.
Venezuelan Navy Command sent an encrypted message to the Almirante Brion. Increase readiness posture. Prepare to deploy weapons if hostile intent is confirmed.
Aboard Helena, the communications officer intercepted the transmission. Even encrypted, the metadata was valuable.
This is the invisible battlefield most people never think about. While surface ships maneuver and aircraft search.
For the next 6 hours, the dance continued. Helena would drift closer, then slip away. To an observer, it might look like a stalemate. But in reality, every minute was asymmetric. But it sent a message. We know you're here. We can reach you. Helena's commander noted the helicopter.
The P-8 isn't just a patrol plane. It's a flying command center with advanced sensors, long-range anti-ship missiles.
From its altitude, it could see everything. The frigate's movements, the helicopter's search pattern, even the faint thermal signatures from the submarine's periscope.
Venezuelan radar operators tracked the P-8 nervously. Its presence was legal, international airspace. At 14:30 hours, Helena's commander made another calculated move. He ordered the submarine to periscope. At 14:30 hours, Helena's commander made another calculated move. He ordered the submarine to...
For 90 seconds, the periscope broke the surface. Not hiding, not threatening, just visible.
Aboard the Almirante Brion, the crew watched in stunned silence. They'd spent 12 hours hunting this submarine.
The psychological impact was deliberate. In submarine warfare, the side that controls when they're seen controls the engagement.
Then, just as suddenly, the periscope dropped. Helena turned east and went deep. Within minutes, the Venezuelan crew tried to reacquire contact. They dropped more sonobuoys, went active again.
That's the brutal reality of modern anti-submarine warfare. Even with decent equipment and training.
Back at SOUTHCOM headquarters in Miami, analysts were already reviewing the data streams from Helena and the P-8. What they found was invaluable.
Venezuela's ASW doctrine followed reductions in the 90s.
Their sonar frequencies matched what U.S. Navy databases expected, but seeing them used operationally under pressure confirmed assumptions into facts. Communication security was adequate but not exceptional. Encrypted transmissions used commercial-grade algorithms that NSA systems could process given enough time.
Coordination between air and surface units showed training, but lacked the seamless integration you'd see in NATO exercises.
Most telling was the frigate's decision to go active immediately. That choice revealed doctrine prioritizing quick reaction over stealthy persistence.
It's the difference between a professional and an amateur. Professionals wait, listen, and gather information before acting. Amateurs react loudly and reveal themselves.
This isn't the first time U.S. submarines have run these kinds of operations. During the Cold War, American subs routinely won.
In 2001, USS Greenville accidentally surfaced under a Japanese fishing vessel during a rapid ascent demonstration.
More recently in the South China Sea, U.S. submarines have played... The pattern is consistent. Make contact, observe the response, record everything, withdraw without escalation.
For Venezuela, the encounter was propaganda material. State media reported that the Navy had successfully detected and tracked a...
Technically true, but the framing missed the point entirely. You can't claim victory when your opponent got exactly what they came for.
Meanwhile, the Coast Guard cutter Stone had successfully interdicted the drug boat, recovering 1,800 kilograms of cocaine and arresting 4 crew members. The timing created an uncomfortable narrative for Caracas. While their navy was chasing submarines, drug traffickers were operating in adjacent waters.
For Washington, the incident was a win on multiple fronts. Counter-narcotic success, intelligence collection.
What makes this story particularly important is what it reveals about modern naval power. It's not just about who has the bigger guns or faster ships.
It's about who can operate with confidence in contested spaces, who can collect information without firing shots, who who can signal strength through presence alone.
USS Helena never fired a weapon, never violated sovereign waters, never even transmitted on radio. Yet she completely dominated the encounter.
Venezuela's Navy responded aggressively, deployed significant resources, and followed proper doctrine. But aggression without subtlety is just noise.
The broader lesson applies far beyond this single incident. In the South China Sea, Russian Arctic, and Persian.
A Chinese destroyer shadows a U.S. carrier. A Russian sub trails a NATO task force. An Iranian fast boat
The side that stays calm, collects data, and avoids escalation usually gains the strategic advantage.
For military professionals watching this story, the takeaway is clear. Discipline beats aggression. Patience beats speed. Information dominance beats firepower.
USS Helena's crew didn't need to prove they were better. They already knew. The mission was to make Venezuela prove what they could do. Mission accomplished.
Within 48 hours of the incident, U.S. Navy leadership quietly briefed allied nations on Venezuela's ASW case.
That's the real victory. Intelligence collected in one theater gets shared across alliances, multiplying its value.
For Caracas, the aftermath was more complicated. Domestically, they could claim they'd defended their waters. Internationally, the message was different.
Any serious military planner looking at this encounter would conclude that Venezuela's ASW capability, while present, nonsense.
And that matters, because maritime security isn't just about one submarine or one frigate. It's about who can sustain operations.
The U.S. submarine force operates globally with 50-plus boats in rotation. Venezuela has one. But here's what makes stories like this important to study. It's not about celebrating one side or mocking another. It's about understanding how power actually works.
Real military power isn't loud, it's quiet. It doesn't need to prove itself constantly because it's proven itself already.
Venezuela's Navy did what they were trained to do. They responded to a threat, deployed assets, followed doctrine. That deserves acknowledgement, not ridicule.
But the outcome reveals the gap between regional forces and global powers. One side was testing, the other was resistance.
There's also a diplomatic dimension worth noting. The entire encounter occurred without official communication between Washington and Caracas.
That's actually more dangerous than theatrical flyovers or aggressive maneuvers. When nations stop talking,
the U.S. State Department maintains that channels remain open through third parties, but direct military-to-military communication.
That increases the risk that one side misinterprets the other's intentions. A training exercise becomes a provocation. A routine patrol becomes a threat.
Professional navies use established protocols to avoid this. Bridge-to-bridge radio calls.
Internationally recognized signals. Predictable patterns that reduce ambiguity.
When those break down, even routine operations carry outsized risk. And that's where incidents like
They become tests of crisis management. Can both sides stay professional under pressure? Can commanders resist the urge to escalate? Can cooler heads prevail?
In this case, yes. Helena's commander showed restraint by surfacing visibly and remaining hidden.
Venezuelan commanders showed restraint by not deploying live weapons despite heightened political pressure. That's leadership making smart calls.
But not every commander makes smart calls. History is full of incidents where miscommunication or overreaction turn.
Both incidents involved professional militaries. Both involved trained crews following procedures. Yet things went.
That's why stories like Helena's matter. They're case studies in how to operate in contested spaces without triggering the very conflicts you're trying to avoid.
The lesson for naval strategists. Intelligence gathering operations must balance aggressiveness with caution.
Too cautious, and you learn nothing. The art is finding the edge where you gather maximum information while maintaining plausible deniability.
USS Helena walked that line perfectly. Close enough to be detected.
It's a tactic that requires confidence born from superior training and technology. You can't play this game unless you know you can dominate if things go wrong.
For smaller navies, the calculation is different. Engaging aggressively with a superior force might satisfy domestic...
The trap of asymmetric encounters. The weaker side must respond to maintain credibility. But responding reveals capabilities that were better kept hidden. There's no easy answer. Stay silent and you look weak. Respond aggressively and you expose yourself.
Invest in quieter submarine or better dronerines. Build redundant communication systems.
But that requires decades of investment and political will. For most nations, it's easy.
Venezuela's military modernization efforts have been hampered by sanctions, economic collapse, and brain drain.
That context matters when evaluating their response. They did well with what they had, but what they had wasn't enough to change the outcome.
So what's the broader takeaway from all this? For casual observers, it might...
But for professionals, it's a masterclass in operational art. How to use presence for intelligence. How to signal without...
These are the skills that separate competent militaries from great ones. Anyone can blow things up. Not everyone can operate with precision and restraint.
And that's the difference between strategic power and tactical force. Venezuela deployed tactical force.
The helicopter drops, the sonar pings, the radio chatter, all tactical, all visible.
Meanwhile, the submarine collected data that will inform U.S. operations for years. Aboard the Almirante Brion, the crew secured from battle stations. They'd done their jobs professionally, but in the end, they'd been outplayed.
Not through superior firepower, not through lucky breaks, but through patient, professional intelligence craft practiced over decades.
That's the real story of modern naval competition. It's not about who shoots first or fastest. It's about who understands the game they're actually playing.
So here's the question. If you were commanding that Venezuelan frigate, what would you have done differently? Would you have gone active immediately?
Or would you have stayed passive and hoped for a better tracking solution? There's no perfect answer, but I want to hear how you'd handle it. Drop your thoughts below. And if this breakdown gave you a new perspective on naval operations, hit that like button and subscribe. Share it with someone who appreciates real military analysis. For those who want to support the channel directly, join our community. You'll get priority responses, loyalty badges, and help us bring more stories like this to light.
Because in the end, the side that stays calm, learns constantly, and plays the long game wins. USS Helena proved that. I'll see you in the next one.